This is one of our most requested videos, and it's something I haven't done just because I haven't seen a lot of need for it, but it's an interesting topic, and I'd like to open it up. Vampires. A lot of you have written in saying that you were a vampire, and all sorts of nonsense. So let me give you a quick rundown of my knowledge of the cults of vampirism. The Illuminati at the highest levels are all vampires. It's part of the nature of the cult that they are part of. Now, I have personally, throughout my life, which has been marred with some very interesting occurrences and how I've gotten a lot of this knowledge, I have personally been invited into and have watched a number of different vampire ceremonies, some of them very legit, some of them not legit, throughout different cultures and different subcultures. I have been to Mexico and seen what they call a filth eater, which is a goddess that is connected with centipedes, with bats, with anything that eats the dead. And from my understanding, they were eating human flesh at that time. I have also been in and around cults from Haiti, like the Sacre Rouge, which is the Red Eye cults, and the Bizango cults, that one of our members who has passed was a Hungan Asogwe, which is the highest level voodoo priest in Haiti, initiated in Haiti, and connected with Quimbanda in Brazil, and some other Cuban-esque Afro magical religions where the arts of vampirism and shape-shifting are strongly associated together. Now, there is a werewolf cult as well. A werewolf cult primarily came to Haiti through the subjugation of the Haitian people by the French. The French got their werewolf cults from their Paleolithical folk religions that worshipped wolves. So you have a strong werewolf cult that comes out of Europe. You have a werewolf cult that comes out of Germany, which is mostly associated with Odin. Even the Greeks had werewolf cults that were associated with Apollo and Zeus, strangely. So you have this mixture of ideals and predatory associations coming together and hunting humans. Now, here's where it gets kind of tricky. Near every single piece of vampire-related icon and information has been purposely twisted to keep you completely unaware of what the real vampire cult is. The iconic symbols, such as this one, where it's a struggle for life and death and the biting of the throat and drinking of the loser's blood, is true. That is the idea and the symbolism that they use. Do they actually eat and drink human blood? The answer is yes, they do. But it is a byproduct of what they actually do, and not the actual act itself. Let me explain, because this is where it gets interesting. So, the oldest vampire cult that I personally know of, and Wendigo cult, actually, There is an Algonquin Indian that I know who has introduced me to the Wendigo cult, and this is very similar to a combination of vampiric and werewolf cult. It all basically is the same process. The oldest vampire cult that I know of comes from Spain. Now, this is just my own personal information and from what I've actually been involved in, have actually seen, and at one point had an invitation to join. I turned them down. The vampire cult that I knew of relied on a base of alchemical procedures of astral travel. So when you see the coffin is actually a place of death. Now it is viewed as the death of the physical body. Old alchemists see it as the flask, or they would put gross physical matter inside the flask and let it rot. Same with the vampire cult. The vampire cult believed that you could lay in a dark place and go into such a trance that your heart would literally slow down to the point of being catatonic. This is very, very similar to the same idea of the alchemist giving up need for the physical body. What happens at that point is, because your awareness leaves your physical body, you are released into a spiritual awareness. Now, the vampire cults use this as sort of the gas or mist that trails out of the coffin. That's why vampires are said to be able to turn into mist. The alchemists use this as the gas being released from the rotting vegetable or gross physical matter from within the flask. There's lots of symbolism of seeing an alchemist screaming his last breath inside the flask as his body dies, and a spirit rising up out of his mouth. This is an alchemical procedure for astral travel. That's really where the similarities end. In the vampire cults, or even werewolf cults, once you are in the astral body, you then use an ideal. Now, a lot of the vampire cults used bats or anything that had a biting, hunting mentality. And they would shape-shift their bodies, or their astral bodies, into this winged, because you had to fly, so they used wings, fanged, because you had to bite, so a bat worked really well for this, creature that would fly the night, or the astral world, which generally appears to be sparkly like the stars, and you would find the spirits and souls of other living beings to feed on. And when you fed on them, you would gain their physical vitality, their strength, their spiritual, not physical, but that did lead to your physical strength. You would drink from them, you would hunt them, attack them. Usually they're in a catatonic state. Most people are fully unaware of what their astral bodies are doing. That's why they're said to be able to mesmerize you, because your astral body, for the most part, for most of you, just kind of like stumbles around the astral plane and doesn't know what it's doing. And it gets eaten, gets sucked on. But not like right now, but there are times where things will attach themselves to you, and when they knowingly attach themselves to you and they're eating you, that is part of the vampire cult. Okay? They train themselves to go out and drink the life force from astral entities, or astral humans, or humans in their astral body. And they bring it back, and they go back into their bodies, and they download that energy they gotten into their own vitality, into their own strength, and use it for their magical workings. Okay? I mean, honestly, that's how simple it is, but it's so much more than that. And because a whole religious basis that's very reptilian, interesting, comes from the fact of, now these are the hunters of humans. And after you do it, your mind begins to change. You begin to see humans as cattle, as food. Now you understand. Now you begin to look at the world differently. You're a predator, and everyone else around you is prey. And you have a whole religious nature around it, where it's good to do this, it's good to drink blood, it's a vital source. And the unilluminated, the uninitiated, is your prey. Therefore, you're illuminated, you're part of the Illuminati, and everyone around you who is not aware of this knowledge deserves to be eaten, because if they were smarter, certainly they would figure it out, right? Well, this group is giving you that knowledge to help you figure it out. The Wendigo is very similar. I had the experience of, without really knowing it, having the opportunity to shift into my astral body into a werewolf-like creature, and then I was tempted incredibly to eat the humans around me. I didn't. And a man appeared to me and gave me medicine in my out-of-body experience and said this should help. A year later, I met that same man, and he knew who I was and said, I'm glad I gave you that medicine. It cured you of your desire to eat other humans. And I told him of my close proximity to this particular vampire cult, and he said that was part of the sickness that had almost infected me. There was great taboos on eating people. That's the other thing too, is once you get used to eating humans in the astral world, then the big symbol is to actually do it on the physical world, to complete the cycle, to really say, I am a vampire inside and out. I seek to devour. Now, I know there's those little emo kids that run around, and they're like, I'm a vampire, and I only feed off those who allow me. Oh, and they're, pretty dumb, unfortunately. I'm sorry, you guys need to stop this. You're silly. And they wear the black, and, they write the sad little poems, and, they're like, I'm a vampire, though, and a werewolf, and a warlock, and I'm powerful. No, you're not. You are nowhere near. You are not what you think you are, and you are just pretty much continuating. You're supporting the myth that hides the truth. Okay, the chaos magic, and I don't know. I've seen some quote unquote vampires, and it's beyond fuck bunny silly. Okay, it's so silly. Just because, even more so because I've seen what it really is. I've seen, this particular picture here is an actual mural that was repainted in a palatial house on the ceiling of where this vampire cult meets, and where I was asked if I wanted to join. These people take it very seriously, with $400,000 cars parked out in front. This is part of the religion of the truly, truly wealthy. And they not only drink the blood of you in your astral form, the blood of the earth is money. And they suck that dry too. That's something for you to think about.